So usually the titles of my videos are like a metaphor. It's not really what I'm going to talk about. You come on here and I'm like, gotcha. Now it's time to talk about my feelings and mind. And you're like, I don't want to hear about this. Doesn't match the subject. This isn't that video. So calm down. This video and the title is very, very literal. What I'm going to show you in this video, if I'd known this when I got started, would have saved me tens of millions of dollars. I'd be so much more successful than I am right now. So much more successful. I see beginners constantly make these, and while maybe you might not make tens of millions of dollars over your career, this will lose you so much money. This will make your life absolute hell, and it will lead you down so many paths that take so long to get out of, and it's just way easier to watch this video and not do it, because I wish if someone had made this video for me, holy moly, it would have changed my entire career. It would have cut 5 years off getting to where I am right now, and I'd be so much farther ahead. So just take 2 seconds and watch it, and don't do these things. So what are these 3 things? The first thing I want to state is where these 3 things occur. What I'm going to talk about in this video is really covering the first year or 2 of entrepreneurship, but this can extend past that. Where this really is going to be at is when your business is sub 100,000, sub 200,000 a month consistently. I don't mean you've hit it once or twice. I mean you can consistently plan on hitting that. And the reason why this has to be covered is in those first 1 to 2 years, there's these weird types of problems. Look, when you actually get going and your business is doing quite well, you already know what you're doing, there aren't too many things that are going to completely knock you off of your 5-year trajectory or just mess up things for years and years. You can even spot a lot of these things coming. When you're a beginner or when you're starting off in your first 1 to 2 years, there are so many minor things that have cataclysmic-like results on your entire career. These things will follow you for 10 years. These things will mess up 1 to 2 years of work. It will just mess up everything. And if you aren't able to spot these things, you're going to make these mistakes. Most beginners do. I made these exact mistakes. And they're so easy to avoid, you just have to know they're there, which is why I'm just going to tell you where they are. So listen up. When you're starting off, I'm not telling you don't partner with anybody. What I'm telling you is you need to be like a guy or gal who's been through 10 divorces, and every person you've dated in the last 10 years has stolen your car and crashed into a wall. That's how jaded you need to be about partnerships, because partnerships last for a very long time. The thing is, when beginners start off, everything's roses. It's like you're a 16-year-old who just got into a relationship and you haven't had the 15 years of dating experience that a person who's 30 years old has. So you're going to make a lot of commitments. You're going to commit to a lot of things without any of your bets hedged. What that can result in is you being married to someone for a very long time in business who has completely different ideals than you. It'd be like if you start dating someone at 16, and then what happens is 4 years later, after you've been married, you find out this person likes to play death metal at 2 a.m. and wants to paint all the walls in your house lime green. Like, how did this happen? I'm stuck in this. I'm stuck with this guy who's playing death metal, and all the walls of my house are lime green. And they're walking around the house now in a Ninja Turtle costume. This is getting really weird, but I can't do anything about it. That's exactly what happens in beginner partnerships. Just like 16-year-olds, they make very bad decisions about who they're going to partner with. Let me explain. There's 2 types of partnerships you're going to run into, and both should be treated pretty much the same way. There's going to be true partnerships where it's going to be those classic, hey, 50-50, split it down the middle, you keep your part, I keep my part kind of thing. And then there's also going to be sub-partnerships, which aren't as dangerous, but still are super dangerous once your company gets going. These are insanely dangerous and far more common for experienced entrepreneurs. So first thing I want to talk about is true partnerships. So everything I'm going to say right here isn't in reference to partnerships that I've been in. I've had way more bad partnerships than I have had good partnerships. Some of them are because the person was bad. Some of them are just because we had different ideals, different visions. Some of them were just a bad fit skill-wise or with the company. There's all sorts of bad things that can happen, but the problem with partnerships is once these things happen, you're stuck if you don't know how to prepare for them. So first off, with beginners, this is where it's going to mess you up so much. With beginners, usually when you partner with someone and you're in your first 1 to 2 years of business, everything's roses. And you're going to be partnering with someone who's probably at the same skill level as you. You're not going to see some 10-year entrepreneur partnering at 50-50 margins with a new entrepreneur. You just don't see that. You're usually going to see newer entrepreneurs partnering with newer entrepreneurs. So it's all roses when you start. You know, you guys are both like, yeah, I want to make money. And you're like, the other person's like, yeah, I want to make money. And you're like 2 roommates who just moved into an apartment and you watch the same TV shows. You like the same fine Italian cuisines. I don't know. I haven't had a roommate in a while. I don't know what roommates like together. You guys stay up all night long playing Monopoly. It's fantastic. It's just like that 16-year-old metaphor though. Because what you're going to start finding out is when you partner with people, especially when you're loosey-goosey about it, well, here's you and here's your partner. And you two might have very different long-term visions. And partnerships are long-term and you're not used to thinking long-term. So what's going to happen is, your partner might want to work less hours. You might want to go and turn this into a passive income business. Your partner might not want to turn it into a billion-dollar company. Your partner might want to turn it into a billion-dollar company. You don't want to. Your partner might want to take the company a completely different direction. Your partner might want to go and hire tons of staff. Your partner might want to make less profit or more profit. There's so many different things you can get caught up on. And this becomes really nasty because these things right here, there's so many things, unlike a relationship where there's like kids, religion, finances. Apparently these are the only things that go into a relationship. I don't know. With business, there's 1,000,000,001 things. And so what happens is you have a partner, you go into it, and so you're like, all right, cool. So I have this vision for the company, and I want to take this company to 20 million, and I want to work 70 hours a week. Heck, 80 hours a week. I want to start hiring developers and making less money. And then on the other hand, you're going to have a partner who's like, hey, cool, I'm cool making 100,000 a month. My end goal, 20-hour work week. I want to spend time with my family and kids. Let's also maximize profit. We don't want to hire developers. We want to do this. And this simple stuff right here, neither person is bad. You just have different life goals and different life visions. It destroys the company because this won't work. This person right here is not going to give up their 50% of what you're making. And so what happens is you end up going out there and having to give up either 50% to a person who's not pulling their weight or vice versa. Maybe you're this person over here. There's nothing wrong with either person. Long story short is, you can't get rid of the other person. You can't take the company where you want without substantial loss or resentment. It just does not work out. And beginners make these deals like crazy. When you're starting off and you're going to partner with someone, you need to make sure that there is a clear out. There is a clear out, and there's clear expectations. There's a clear vision for where you want to go. If you guys are just starting a brand new company and you're not quite sure, you need to have clear outs. If so-and-so does not do this, then this person does not get their percentage. If a partner wishes to leave, then this partner has this part of the business, this person has this part of the business. So for example, if you're in like a classic info salesman partnership, so let's say you're doing the selling and the other person's making the info, you have full ability to leave the company, but this person gets all their information back after 3 months. So you're going to say, all right, look, I can't work with you anymore. You're going to get your information in 3 months. We're going to give it to all the current members. We're going to give it to all the current members who have already paid for it, but we're not going to give it to any new members. So there's a clear out. There's a clear, clean way to leave the business, and you can replace this person with another info person. You must have a way that allows you to exit the business and interchange that person with a person that aligns with your vision. This is so crucial when you're starting off. If you just do this, it's going to be very simple, incredibly simple. There has to be a clear, you're out, you're in. Most importantly, when you first get started as a beginner, you're not all going to share the same vision. That's fine. You need to focus on cash flow first. And sometimes your partner that's going to get you to 100K a month is not the person that's going to get you to $1 million a month. That's completely cool. You need to have times when you're going to go back and reevaluate the partnership. And you say, all right, cool. Once we get to this margin right here, what do you want to do next? Where do you want to take this? What's your goal with this company in 10 years? Where do you see your life going? Also, you need to make it very clear. A lot of times you're going to get with a partner. Let's say you're making 100K a month, and both of you now are making 50K a month. And suddenly your partner is going to be like, especially with new entrepreneurs, they're going to get bored with the business. This is not their dream business. They're going to go, well, I want to go and do this one thing. And then they're just going to go and focus on their business. They're going to go make like supplements or something like that. Now, I have to stress, you have to be deadly serious with this, because if you go and start with a person, let's say you have a really good first 6 months, but then let's say after those 6 months, the person checks out, the person goes and does something else, you're stuck with that person. You're stuck with that person. Let's say you get to 100K a month. Over those next 2.5 years, you're going to have to pay this person hundreds of thousands of dollars. You need to have an exit plan. Or maybe you want to go do something else. You need to have a way to exit the business too. You have to think about these things. Think about the worst case scenarios and plan for all of them. Have contracts, at least loose ones, drawn up. You don't have to go get a lawyer. Just have, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. If we want to end this business relationship, this is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to work. That's going to save you so much headache. Now, I want to talk about sub partnership. So an example of this would be, is let's say you start a company and you own 70%, you give 30% or less to another person in the company. So you're clearly the owner. This is even more risky in some cases. So what you're going to see a lot of times with beginners is you're going to have a person who's really good at selling or making content, and you're going to have a person that's a developer. You're going to see this a whole lot of times. You're also going to have companies more like mine where you give people incentives. Like, all right, you come on, you leave this big company, but we're going to give you 3% ownership of the company. What happens a lot of times is beginner entrepreneurs, especially in their first 1 to 2 years, they think because a person has skill sets, they're automatically worthy of partnership, and nothing's further from the truth. You see all sorts of times people partner with developers. They're like, well, the person knows how to code. He knows magic. So I'm going to give him 30%. And he's cheaper than hiring a $10,000 per month developer. No, you really want to go with the $10,000 per month developer. And I'm not going to get into how to pick the right person or whatnot. I'm just going to say when it comes to developers, find a person that has a track record working as a lead developer at a major company. Don't partner with someone who has never worked at a company, never ran a team before, because a lot of times they're full of shit. You don't want to find entrepreneur developers. You just don't want to. Some person that learned tons of code, might be an excellent coder, but has no track record developing for some company for 2 to 3 years. They're almost always full of poo-poo. I'm just going to leave it at that. So here's the dangerous part about this. You have to be super deadly serious about the partnerships you're giving away right there, whether it's 3% or 30%. You need to have a clear period, let's say 2 to 3 years, where if the person gets fired in this time frame, their percentage is gone. If the person does not perform, their percentage is gone. There needs to be very clear guidelines of how their percentage will get removed. I can't tell you how many times. I had this one company where we launched this software. I got it to huge numbers. And the developer came on, big talker. And one thing you need to realize about most people before you partner, people talk a lot. Very few people back up what they talk. Very few people do. If you meet a big talker who's not making millions of dollars a year, he's not good at anything. He's not good at anything. So don't listen to this. Don't listen to this. Look at people's track records. Anyways, when you're partnering with these type of people, you need to have very clear guidelines for how you can kick them out of the company, because a lot of times these people will let you down. But back to my original story, we got the software to a great point. The developer completely failed at every task he was given, and then he wanted to be bought out of the company. This happens, where if I've had this simple clause where they're like, hey, if you suck at your job, you don't get anything. And then I could just booted him and replaced him right there. But because of that percentage right there, it was just such a huge hard cost keeping this person around that it didn't even work to keep the company going at a certain point. See how it can destroy a company. Just making that little loosey-goosey partnership can destroy everything going forward. So you have to think about that. Whenever you're partnering with someone and giving them a sub-ownership of your company, you must have many clauses in place where, hey, if you stay for a year, you get this percentage locked in. It's called vesting. But beyond that, have very clear ways that they don't get anything if they don't perform. Say, hey, you got to be with me for 3 years if you want this percentage. If you leave before 3 years, you don't get the percentage. If you don't perform in these 3 years, you don't get the percentage. It has to be very clear. It has to be very clear cut. Do not enter into any partnership if it's not clear cut. And that's it. So the next thing you need to be hyper aware of is where you are in business. And you need to be very sure of where you want to go and plan to get out of one position. So when you're starting your business, your entire priority is cash flow. There's going to come a point in your business where if you want to make a lot of money and you want to be long-term, you need to move into what I like to call big move, long-term businesses. I'll explain what these are. So when you're starting off your business, your main thing is to make money. You want to get $10,000, $20,000 a month coming in with as little hard cost as possible. That's the goal. And that should be your goal. Your first goal should be to make your living expenses very easy to afford. I don't know what I'm writing right there. Very easy to afford. You don't want to be hiring too much staff. You don't want to be going out there and creating wing-ding high-risk businesses. You want to go out there and make cookie-cutter businesses that are very similar to businesses that have worked and get good at those businesses while keeping the hard costs super low. So for example, when I first got started, one of my first companies, our profit margins were 90%. I'd take home 100, 200,000 a month at 90% profit margin. It's great, gravy, awesome. The problem was every single month I had to make more and more money because I was cash flow focused. And so I was constantly going out there and trying to make more money, make more money. That's not good for the customer, and that's not good for a long-term business. Eventually, you have to cool your jets and reverse your order to make something that's long-term and going to sustain you for a long time. And most importantly, have the chance of becoming something that can make you truly wealthy, something you can exit for $10 million, $20 million, $50 million at. What's going to prevent you from doing that is not recognizing when you're in cash flow and when you need to move to big and long-term. What I suggest doing when you first get started, you want to save up 1 to 2 years, I would say 2 years of income. You don't want to scale your lifestyle while you're scaling your business. You don't want to think at all. When you have a cash flow business, they're very like this. They're all over the place. They're like a roller coaster. What you want to keep is your lifestyle in the same spot it is right now, very cheap. You want to put away 1 to 2 years worth of income. It's essential. And then you want to get out of cash flow mode. Because what's going to happen is if you're in cash flow mode, you're probably going to get locked into a business you don't enjoy, and you're going to get super hyper focused on cash, so the business isn't going to be long term. You need to be cool of taking a break and saying, I don't need to make any more money. What type of business do I want to build over a 10-year span? What do I want to do for the next 10, 20, 30 years? It's okay to just kind of pause and not focus on growing the cash flow business. Just keep it stable. Keep the business stable and say, all right, I'm not going to keep growing this unless I'm sure I want to do this for the next 30 years. What do I really want to do? All right, here's what I really want to do. And that's when you get into big long-term mode. And the difference between big long-term businesses is they have a lot of risk. They have a lot of hard cost. And they can't be based off of cookie cutter businesses. They can sort of be based off ideas that work, but with big long-term businesses, you want to find something. Let's imagine here's where you are right now, 2019. You want to find something that's going to be really hot in 2022 and be working on it right now, or even further ahead if you're going to pull a Jeff Bezos. But if you're just starting off, thinking 3 years in advance might be mind-blowing to you. So you want to find something that's going to be hot then, not what's hot right now. If you're doing cash flow, you want to find something that's hot right now. Shopify, consulting, email marketing, SMA consulting. So you want to find businesses that are super unique. The problem with these things is you're going to need very talented people. You're going to need to not make much money at first, probably for the first 1 to 2 years of the business. You're also going to have to be okay finding a product market fit because you're not going to have the right fit when you first start out. Then finally, what is going to happen is you have to be okay with those hard costs. So that's why you want to have your money saved up. And that's why you want to have this cash flow business put up right here. And you need to think about this business. And this business right here, you have to find fulfillment in. This has to be your big fulfilling business because it's not going to make you a lot of money up front. But when you have a very fulfilling business you're obsessed with, that's how you make the big bucks. That's how you make the tens of millions, the 20s, the 50s of millions. The 50s of millions. Anyways, so you need to recognize this. What happened to me is I focused on being in cash flow for almost 5-6 years. And so I kept this business I kept working at. Where if I just started the businesses I'm working on right now, back then, I'd be so much more successful. But I didn't because I was like, I got to keep making money. I can't focus on this business I want to build because I'm so focused on making money. I had millions of dollars in the bank. There's no reason for me. My hard cost per month for living was like $6,000 a month. Taking home hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. There's no reason for making any more money. I could stop and blow up the business and live off of it for 10 years. Actually, decades at that point. Even at my current lifestyle now, I could blow up my cash flow businesses and just live for decades in the same lifestyle because of how I structured my life. There's no point to going out there and keep going all in on a cash flow business unless you just have other objectives in life. If you get your fulfillment from businesses, take a step back, go on vacation, think about the thing you want to do that might not make money up front, because if you're addicted to cash flow, you're not going to get into these big long-term businesses, and it's going to stop you from becoming truly wealthy. This is another huge mistake 1 to 2 year entrepreneurs make, and you're going to end up stuck in that phase for 5-6 years and then really regret it. This has lost me tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions over the course of my career. I haven't made hundreds of millions yet, but I mean, if you take the time frames and imaginary numbers. Anyways, next thing. This has 2 parts. Assume you are stupid and hedge your bets. So, 2 things happen to entrepreneurs because of how people tell them that entrepreneurship is and how people look at entrepreneurs. When a person hits any form of success in entrepreneurship, they think they're really, really smart because they've beat the system. Yes, you are pretty smart. You did beat the system to a certain extent. Way to go. High five. Give yourself a cake. You're awesome. The problem is, it's like hopping on a bull. Sure, you landed on the bull. All right, you've rid it for 2 seconds. How are you going to take this bull across a football field? How are you going to ride it across a football field? More importantly, how are you going to stay on that bull for 5, 6, 7 years? You have to first off understand you aren't that smart, and everything you have right now is built on a house of cards. It's very important you understand that. And you also need to understand, just because you got lucky in business once doesn't mean you're going to get lucky twice. Doesn't mean you're going to get lucky 5 times. You've got to master the fundamentals and the basics of business. You have to understand all the things that go into your business model, and you have to be the best at it. Sometimes you're going to be able to pull it off where you're not very good at it, but you can make a lot of money. That's never going to last very long. So you must understand that. First off, do not assume you are going to be lucky again. And that ties into the second part. Hedge your bets. Always. When I started my first business, people always think when you're an entrepreneur that you need to go and take some leap of faith. No, I was keeping my full-time job working as an SEO manager at an agency well into when my business was going. I didn't quit my job until I was making nearly, I think, $12,000 to $20,000 a month. Bill Gates did something similar. He didn't go and quit college. He didn't go and take some massive risk until Microsoft was already working. There's a $1 billion eyeglass lens company where you buy lenses online called Warby Parker. $1 billion company. Was one of the best investments ever. Every single one of the founders, it took them years to start off because they wouldn't quit college. They wouldn't quit their jobs. A lot of them didn't even go all in on the business until it was making money. Same thing with Airbnb. The guys who started that were constantly keeping their normal jobs. They never took any huge risk. So there's this fascination with taking massive risk in entrepreneurship, and no one does that. Bill Gates doesn't do it. Warby Parker didn't do it. The guys at Airbnb didn't do it. There's billions more examples of it. I didn't do it. So here's the 2 things you need to understand. Always hedge your bets. Always have that backup plan. I have never started a business without having another business providing funding. When I started my first successful business, I had a job funding me. When that business was successful and I started another business, which was kind of the HCOM education business, that was being funded by the initial business. And I didn't stop working on that initial business until HCOM was making a lot of money. Same thing with Market Hero / Hyros, which it's Hyros now. We'll call it Market Hero until we fully make the switch over. I was making tons of money when I started that business. And I didn't go start hiring developers and get investors and take massive risks. I had the business funded. And I always had all the bills covered in the business. Even when we're developing and losing $100,000 a month in development cost, I still had the cost covered. I hedged my bets, where if Market Hero did not work out, I would be fine. And the first few years of Market Hero, it didn't work out too well. Didn't scale to the moon. And that came from the first problem right there. But you have to understand, if I had not hedged my bets, I'd be broke right now. Or if I had gone out there and scaled my lifestyle with my income, I'd be broke. I didn't buy my dream house or start buying Lamborghinis or whatever until I could easily afford them. It wasn't a problem. With my apartment and my Lamborghini, it costs like 3% of my income. The reason why entrepreneurs get in trouble right here is because they assume they're going to be successful because they won the game one time. No, you got to win the game for 40 years. You got to win the game for 40 years. So one mistake that I constantly made is I thought, oh man, I'm so good at this business model. I can go and start a supplement company. I can start a lifestyle company where I'm a famous entrepreneur, Ty Lopez kind of guy. I can go and start a software company because I'm fucking Alex Becker and I made money one time. That didn't work so great. I had 10 different businesses that didn't make any fucking sense. I've gotten rid of all those businesses. Total waste of time. So much money lost. Hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. Because I thought I was really smart and I assumed I can do it. And every entrepreneur I see does this. I see a person start an agency. They get the $30,000 a month. They're like, I'm going to start an info business. And also, I'm going to start a software company. No, you goof troop. You silly sausage. Cut it out. You are not going to be good at these new things. These are completely different business models. That's like being really good at basketball and then saying, I'm going to go pick up ice skating because I'm just fucking awesome. It doesn't work like that. So, hedge your bets so when you take risk, you can cover your butt, always, and don't assume you're going to be successful. Don't assume that your money is going to keep coming in. Don't assume that you can scale your lifestyle. If you make $30,000 a month, if you go from, let's say, $5,000 a month to $30,000 a month, don't increase your lifestyle to $20,000 a month. You need to sit there at 2 years at $30,000 a month before you even increase your lifestyle to $10,000 a month. which is still unreasonable. If your lifestyle takes up 30% of your income and you're an entrepreneur, that's insane. That's what employees do. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but if you're making $7,000 a month, you're going to have a hard time not having your lifestyle take up a large amount of your income. If you're making $50,000 a month and your lifestyle costs you over $5,000, $6,000 a month, you are a goof troop. You're goofy. You're a silly sausage. You're in the silly sausage department. You're in the frozen aisle of Walmart labeled silly sausage, and everyone's walking by you and saying, that's one silly looking chunk of meat right there. So don't do it. These are the three things you must avoid. If you don't do these three things, you are going to have such a huge advantage and you're going to get success so much faster, and you're going to avoid so many headaches, and your trajectory is just going to be like, woo, or it might be stable, but it's never going to be like, wow, like that. All right. You don't want to do that. So don't do it. And that's all there is to it. Don't do those three things. If you like this information, go hit the subscribe button below, hit that bell, because I live stream 2 to 3 times a week, and you want to attend those because I give away tons of useful information, all sorts of courses. It's awesome. So do that. I'll see you in the next video.